Welcome to Grey Primer, a weekly show that's mostly about miniatures. My name is Nick, I'm your host. On this episode, it's another in my Versus series where I pit the Imperial Guard against the T'au kit versus kit. The Imperial Guard are one of those rare Warhammer 40K armies that actually come with two separate start collecting sets, and I'm going to look at the second of those tomorrow. But for now, I still have to make something for T'au to go up against that, so I've actually gone with a couple of kits. I've gone with the Devilfish and Fire Warriors, and I brought in some reinforcements in the XV25 Stealth Battlesuits. Yeah, the Militarum Tempestus set, which is coming up tomorrow for the Imperial Guard, that was a hard set to find a competitor for, but I think that I've done okay here. I've got the vehicle and the big Devilfish, I've got some more of those cool Fire Warriors, probably a few drones in there as well, but I also have those Stealth Battlesuits, the XV25s, a completely new kit to me. But let's get into these Fire Warriors, the Devilfish, and those fantastic Stealth Battlesuits. Back soon. So we have this Devilfish. You got a little bit of a sort of like, this is how you do the thing. Kind of a 101 to building your miniatures. That's kind of cool. The different types of colors and showing the age there. You can see the old style Citadel pots there. And is this the only instruction manual? Is it the actual box? That'd be kind of weird. Some more Fire Warriors. More painting options there. And this is copyright 2007. Okay, big components. And lots of space. Tons of space around this stuff. Definitely not what we're used to these days. This would be jammed full of bits and pieces in these gaps. They'd make use of all of the space on the sprue. And yeah, this is a 2001 sprue. So that's very, very consistent with kits of that age. And yeah, large components there. And even more here. I mean, look at the size of this piece. Relatively low level of detail around the body of this. There's sort of no rivet design or something, but maybe that's not something you would see with T'au sets. I'm not sure. Maybe they're not into exposed rivets. Things get a little bit more detailed in this sprue. This kind of gives the feeling of a fabric covered seat or something like that. But it's got a nice texture to it. That's a pretty cool touch. 25mm bases, I'm assuming for the Fire Warriors. And then, oh my goodness me, this looks like an empty sprue in this day and age. That's amazing. This is 2001 as well? No, this is 2005. But I've already seen some Fire Warriors, and I do like them. So as ancient as their sprues look, if you can call something from 2005 ancient, I know that the miniatures end up looking pretty fantastic. Got a water slide decal sheet here with some nice little instructions on the back. And them danged Ultramarines managed to get a look in even on the back of a T'au decal sheet. And then we are into the instruction manual, and it is old-fashioned. Look how tiny this print is. That's incredibly small. I think this is the only way I could actually read this is using this camera because it has a killer close-up lens on it. Looks pretty straightforward. Hopefully you can see that. There aren't any part numbers. You just match them up visually, but a pretty uncluttered instruction manual. Should be fairly straightforward to follow. That one's a little bit more of an exploded diagram, and it's hard sometimes to know what order to do the things in, but hopefully there won't be a case of, if you do it in the wrong order, that something will get in the way. So that's the Devilfish. Let's quickly have a look at these XV25 Stealth Battlesuits. And this is a much more up-to-date box, but let's see if the sprues are any more up-to-date. So the answer to that is no, these are 2005. I haven't built any of these before, so this is a brand new kit to me. It doesn't feel like there's an awful lot in this, just two small sprues. It's actually, you can clearly see that it's been cut in half there to fit in the tinier box. Do get a water slide decal sheet, a different one. Thankfully no ultramarine stuff on the back of this. Some 25 and 32mm bases and a flight base there. Is there a drone in this? Yeah, of course there is. There's a drone. And a really bad looking bit of photocopied art. Why bother? slightly better image, but heavily cropped here. I don't understand. I don't know who did these layouts, but they're just weird. Exploded diagram sort of instructions, so I'll have to be careful just to make sure I'm doing that in the right order. I think always the best bet is to dry fit before you commit. Dry fit before you commit. The data sheets there, and then a big logo at the back there. Let's go get it built, and I'll be right back. So while the T'au didn't have a second start collecting set, I was able to put together this thing, which gives some nice tactical options. You've got a bit of armor here, you've got some of these gun drones, some target drones, standard infantry with a mixture of carbines and rifles, and then the addition of the XV25s here to give a little bit more armor and some more heavy weapons options. So let's start with the TY7 Devilfish, which is a pretty cool looking vehicle. Truth be told, it's an older kit, but I love the design. I like this commander poking out the top of it here. And I especially like the drones that are resting at the ends of the wings here. This was something I hadn't realized that T'au had available to them, but I'm sure as for T'au players out there, this is the norm that these things can be plugged into the wings. And I'm sure as you're flying this along, you can use them as an additional weapons option. But if you zoom this thing into the front lines, you can then have these little dudes just sort of hop out and go off and do their own thing, go off on their own missions. And I think that's really clever. I'm going to take them off here because otherwise they're going to rattle for the whole video. A few nice design details here. I'll start at the front. You don't need to glue this gun in place. It's got rotation plus elevation there. And I really like that. For a kit that has a few years on it, it's got some motion in it, some nice options for positioning weapons whatever way you want, positioning these engine pods whatever way you want as well, which is kind of neat. The commander here, I didn't glue him in place. I left him as sort of an option that I could pull him out and put just the hatchback in there. And then at the back we've got the actual access hatch for the troop transport area. And you can see in there for all the details of the seating and everything like that. I'll show one of these drones just in case you haven't seen one before. This is sort of the gun variant, and then you have the marker drone version of it here as well. So you can see the slight differences there. And I'm not really sure what purpose this one serves. I couldn't really see any mention of it in the instruction leaflet as to what it was called. It looks kind of similar to some of the vanes that are on the back of like the likes of the Devilfish over here, but maybe someone can tell me. And then we have the first of the Fire Warriors here, and this one has got some kind of a remote unit. I wonder, is this how they control the drones, or is that done through the helmets or something like that? But anyway, he's got some kind of a control system here. Looks like he's throwing a small disc. Maybe it's a grenade or some kind of a mine or something like that. I'm not sure. I put the rifle on the back. I thought it'd be kind of cool having that stowed on his backpack. I do generally like the faces on the T'au when they have their helmets off. I think they look really interesting as a race. And for the next one, I used the same left arm again. And I like the angle of the head here. He's really staring intently at this device. I have him in a crouching position. And I really like the way he has his pulse rifle. For me, this is just a really interesting pose. I think he looks very cool. And while there's not a huge amount you can do with the way the rifles are being held, the arms connect to the torso here with a flat plate. This arm on the left supports the rifle. The other one is molded as part of the rifle. There's not a huge amount of wiggle room there for changing the way these look. But what you can do is you can lean into sort of the position of the torso on the legs and also the angle of the head. And I think this pose is effective just because the way the head is angled there. It just, again, adds a little bit of character to it. And I like that one too. It's not at all generic. Speaking of generic, I will skip over the last 4 Fire Warriors here. Individually, they do look grand, but they also look very similar to each other. They've either got a pulse carbine or a pulse rifle. And the limitation of the way the arms go onto the body, the way the hands hold the rifles, they do look very similar. But I do have a particular fondness for the crouching miniatures. I love this pose. I kind of wish there were more of these, but then you put in too many and then that becomes the generic thing. But I just like the way this one looks. I think it goes together really well. And yeah, very, very cool, that one. And then the final group I'm going to look at here is the XV25 Stealth Battlesuits. And I actually think these look really cool. I've seen images of them where they look kind of goofy and it looks like the weapon is ridiculously oversized. But looking at it like this, rotating it, it doesn't look oversized to me. It's a heavy weapon. It's one of these big burst cannons. It's a serious bit of kit. But I think that the miniature itself looks pretty good and went together very well. There were no issues. I did do 2 of them with the burst cannon, and I found it very difficult to make these look different. I tried slightly adjusting like the weapon, the turn of the hips, the legs that I was using, but they end up looking like pretty much the same thing. The final one though has the fusion blaster, and I think this weapon actually looks pretty neat. I have him with his fist raised in the air like and I do like these. They don't really rock my world as much as other T'au stuff I've seen. I was actually expecting to like those more, but I ended up liking the Devilfish more. There were not that many component parts. You saw that when I was unboxing it. It has these massive panels on the sprues, but I actually really like it. And while I do think it would benefit from an upgrade with much more complexity on the sprue and a lot more component parts and swap out parts, it's the big surprise for me in this kit, in this kind of mushed together kit. And I think it's this Devilfish which really helps to elevate this collection here above the Start Collecting set from the T'au Empire. The kit is helped along again by the Fire Warriors and the handful of really interesting poses there and the options for adjusting sort of the head angle and things to add a bit of character. But maybe it's held back a little bit by my edition, which is the XV25 Stealth Battlesuits, which are just a little bit too generic for me. As for a score, I think this one comes in between the 2 Start Collecting sets I looked at the last time. I'm going to score this as an 80. It's held back by the XV25s, and that's all on me, but it is really elevated by this Devilfish. Loving this vehicle. It makes me want to go out there and look for more T'au heavy armor, more troop transports, and see what other options there are within the range. But that's it for now. I will be back tomorrow with another Start Collecting set from the Imperial Guard. And this time it is the Militarum Tempestus, and we'll see how it stacks up against the T'au we've looked at today. But until then, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and bye-bye.